What if I told you that every boss in this game can be killed with gear less than 100 million GP? Would you believe me? Or would you be like, what? There's no way. There's absolutely no way. Well, I know that a lot of people do spend a lot of time stressing about having to have the top end gear before even starting in PvM. However, the way that RuneScape has gone lately with magic and all the upgrades and stuff, you can absolutely kill every boss in the game in gear less than 100 million GP. So in this video, I'm going to show you the exact setup that you can use to do that. And of course, you will have to keep in mind that you're going to still need to put a lot of practice in to learn bosses. But with this stuff, you can 100% kill every boss in the game, maybe except one, with this gear setup. I'll explain about the one, but we'll get to that when we get to it. If you enjoy this video, do leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. And one last thing before we do get started. While it is absolutely true that you can kill every boss in this gear setup that I'm going to show you, it doesn't mean that you should. And I will talk about that later on, but keep that in mind. So for those of you that hadn't guessed it, I am talking about Ganodermic armor, the wand and the orb of the Skyway Elders. If I pronounced it wrong, I do apologize. And also I am using an ancient lantern as well, or a defender. You could bring any shield, it doesn't matter. As long as you have a shield with you, it's gonna be pretty important. Other than that though, all the other gear that I've got on me is not really that expensive. Don't even like consider the drag or mace thing as a bladed die switch, because you can just bring anything stupidly cheap with you. As long as you have the right weapons for it, you can definitely still use that. The Book of Jazz is very cheap. I did a price check, as you can see in my thing here. I did actually buy and sell the wands and stuff, and the total gear, not counting the extra room pouches that I've brought because I don't want to fix my room pouches for one video, is 56 million GP. It's 56 mil for all this gear, and I guarantee you can kill every boss in the game, bar one, which is next, because you want to use range there with this gear set. Now, if you want to include everything else, then obviously you can bring it down just below 100 million GP, but hey, this is absolutely great, and you can definitely do this. Now, one thing that's worth mentioning is you're probably not going to want to use this everywhere at all bosses, and obviously having better gear when you go and kill bosses is obviously going to be an improvement. That's just the way it is. But for you guys that are PVMing on a budget, or you are worried that you might have to spend like billions before you can get into PVM, it is just not true. Magic, using the Animate Dead spell, which you'll get from the city at Sentiston, allows you to take advantage of tank gear on magic and some cheap, like the cheap gears. It's ridiculously cheap for Ganodermic. It is so cheap. It's like 4 million GP at the most. And using the tier 85s, which gives you tier 90 accuracy, is something that you can absolutely take advantage of and still get through almost every single boss in the game. Animate Dead is going to reduce the amount of damage that I take by 302 every single hit. Then there's all the damage reduction as well. I'm going to be taking a lot less damage than you would expect me to take in most places. A lot of people know about Animate Dead or sort of stuff, but you can absolutely use this gear to get kills at every single boss to some limitations. Obviously, you're not going to want to go kill AOD in this. Obviously, you're not going to want to go kill Virago unless you'd like just taking them with friends like a challenge or something in this gear. You'll be able to do it, but I wouldn't suggest it because of kill times are important and stuff. And obviously raids and all that, you could get through the raid, but you're going to struggle on kill times again. Now, other places like Zamorak, like Telos, and all these solo bosses, you can take this gear and you can go in yourself. Zuck as well. You'd absolutely be able to get the magic cape at Zuck in normal mode. Hard mode you may struggle, but in normal mode you'll be able to get that. I know it's possible because people have done it, and I know plenty of people who've done it in this gear. So you can take advantage of this gear in all those other places, and while it would work in the main things, you want to keep in mind that you don't want to use it absolutely everywhere, especially in group content. That being said though, in this video, I'm going to show you guys that you absolutely can use this at all bosses. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off with it with like a Zamorak normal mode kill, and then I'll talk to you about the experience. Finally, I will mention that yes, I do have Great Concentrated Blast, and I am assuming that you will have overloads, your 96 summoning, and your tier 95 curses unlocked. This is expensive, this is a lot of skilling, this is a lot of work before getting into PVM, but this is all important stuff for PVM. And if you don't have this before you like trying to get loads of gear and stuff, then you want to focus on this first anyway. So at that point, I'm going to assume that you've already unlocked all this stuff, and if you haven't, go ahead and focus on this stuff first before you start worrying about your gear. The overloads, the tier 95 curses, and the summoning is going to be a way higher output and like a return on your investment of money than getting just better gear. It's just the way it is. That's what's better to focus on, and that's what I'll suggest you do. So keep that in mind while we go on from here. But other than that, less than 100 million GP gear. Let's see how it performs at some of the higher level bosses. So we're going to start off with Zamorak. I am using a Ripper Demon here. I do have scrolls, which I would suggest you take advantage of. This is going to be a big portion of your damage. We do have the Book of Jazz, which isn't charged, so I'll get that done before we go in. I'll use the bank in here. And then finally, I'm going to use the Maniacal Aura. In fact, no, we're going to use Dark Magic, okay? We're going to use Dark Magic because it's super cheap. It's one of the easiest DPS prayers to get, auras to get. And obviously, Magic costs bonds, Maniacal's way more points. So we're going to stick to good old Dark Magic. I'm going to extend this for an hour. We'll use this across the whole board and all the bosses, and we'll go from there. Okay, so the first boss that I did was Zamorak. Now, in here, it really wasn't that difficult. There was a couple of mistakes that I made, and I did sign towards the end because I am stupid and kept walking onto the platforms without using anything to deal with the magic hits, but that's okay. Overall, doing this boss was absolutely no problem, especially at 100% rage. It was a little slower than you would expect for, obviously, high level gear and stuff, as you can expect through most of these bosses. However, there was no difficulty whatsoever. In fact, on one of the pads, and I think now if I actually go back and do it again and think about it, you could probably skip all the mechanics using this. If you use your Sunshine, then use an Omnipower Wild Magic, followed by like Asphyxiate or Great Concentrated Blast, then you can absolutely skip the mechanics here, as I did it on one of the platforms quite easily. So you can definitely do that. Maybe you wouldn't be able to skip the first one, as it does require more damage, but the rest of them wouldn't really be a problem. As for taking damage, I didn't really use any food whatsoever, except at the end when I signed myself because I was stupid. But overall, if you Soul Split Flick this properly, Animate Dead keeps you on full health for the whole thing. This was also without using many defensives. The only time I used defensives was when I was using Reflect and Debilitate for the bomb that you get after he does the melee hits. Other than that, there wasn't really anything else that I used defensives for. You could use Devotion if you're going to walk on the pads to deal with the magic bomb things that I got signed off of. That's probably what I should have done, but I didn't. I'm used to the crippling, reducing the damage, okay? Give me a break. But overall, there wasn't really any difficulty here. I don't think that you would struggle too much. You could possibly do 100% in rage. It would be difficult, and you wouldn't be able to one cycle the 100%. Is it phase 7? You wouldn't be able to one cycle phase 7. Probably, I would say. But you could definitely 2 cycle it, 3 cycle it, whatever you need to do. I think you'd be fine. I think you'd be fine. So Zamorak, definitely a boss that you can do. The only thing I would have kept in mind here is, one, I didn't bring an adrenaline potion because, again, I'm stupid and forgot to sort out my preset. But otherwise, you could definitely get through this kill nice and easy, skip some mechanics with this gear, and it's not a problem whatsoever. So coming to Telos, we did a 100% kill, as I wanted to see what it would be like in phase 5 as well and show you guys that too. And overall, again, there wasn't really any issues here. The only issue I did have, and this is actually going to be important, I was using Dark Magic throughout the whole thing, right? I used Dark Magic for the whole time, using, like, testing the armor and stuff out because it's a really cheap aura. You're going to want to use an Accuracy aura here. I also brought a Ripper Demon because I wanted the extra damage. I think it would have made more sense to bring a Nihil here for this as well, because my accuracy on Telos was incredibly low and I splashed so damn much. But if you got yourself a Nihil and used an Accuracy aura, you would have a hell of a better time here, and that is what I would suggest you guys do if you are going to do that. I kept the same Ripper Demon and I kept the Dark Magic aura throughout the whole thing because I wanted to test it out, and if I can do it with that when it's not actually a benefit thing to use, then you guys are going to be good. If you're using Maniacal here, you will not have a problem whatsoever at these enrage levels anyway. And of course, you don't actually need any food until probably the last 2 phases, maybe even just the last phase, because the hold still is going to recover your health for you, and you're going to be doing a lot of stun locks anyway if you do this fight properly, so you're not really taking a ton of damage. That being said, though, with the accuracy auras instead, you'd be absolutely fine. You could probably just use runic accuracy too. You're still going to splash now and then with this gear, but you're not going to splash that much, and at 100% rage, it's not that big of a deal if you deal with stuff properly. Now, you're going to want to use your defensives, things like Devotion, things like your Resonance and stuff with the hold still. You need to know how to use all that stuff, using Reflect and all that while you're in the fonts and stuff on the phase 4, and then Debilitate when you've got the anima bomb. So you do need to understand your defensives, and this is a massive part of using this gear and getting away with it. Using your defensives is important. You're going to be cutting time and kill times to be able to get through the fights by using your defensives and making it easy on yourself. That being said, you can absolutely take advantage of this if you camp to Defender with this gear and just use Reflect off cooldown and Debilitate off cooldown, except when you knew you were going to need it for a mechanic. Then I mean, you're not going to be taking any damage almost. so you're going to be absolutely fine in most places. So Telos was absolutely fine. I didn't struggle with it too much whatsoever, and as you can see on the last phase, I still did enough damage to kill Telos off, even though it was a really bad phase, to be fair. I still did enough damage to kill Telos off without him having to do any of the fonts or anything like that. Like, I didn't have to use Immortality. It killed him off completely. So I mean, it was pretty close, but again, it was a bad phase, and overall it was fine. It was not a problem whatsoever. It was like a 7-minute kill, not ideal. You could definitely get 5-minute kills here, I think, in this gear, if you weren't as terrible at Telos as I am. So with a bit of practice, you could definitely do that. And again, there wasn't really much risk of me dying here. It really wasn't that bad. Obviously, the sign that you're seeing is from Zamorak when I screwed up, so keep that in mind. The next boss I went to was Raksha. This boss really wasn't that difficult to do with this gear in any way whatsoever. I'm pretty sure you could probably soul split this if you wanted to and just use Reflect. With Animate Dead, you would probably be absolutely fine, but I still used prayer flicking and I didn't really need any food whatsoever. The only thing that I would suggest that you still need to do is bring along a laceration boot switch and a two-handed halberd weapon so you can clear off the pools nice and easy. You can use Masuda's war spear. They're not really expensive whatsoever. Other than that, there's not really much else to mention here. The boss was nice and easy. The kill time wasn't incredible, but it definitely could have been quicker. That's pretty much it. For the first initial DPS check, wasn't really an issue. You want to milk the Ripper Demon here, absolutely, to get through the first phase. Once you've got through that, it's pretty much smooth sailing, and you can just go back to doing normal. What I would suggest you do at the beginning is literally just down spiritual prayer potions to force yourself through getting through that phase and nice and quick. But even if you didn't do that, you probably wouldn't have too much of an issue making sure you don't actually hit that healing mechanic. But this gear here at Raksha in a solo, not a problem whatsoever. In fact, it made the fight incredibly easy. The final boss that I took this to was going to be the Ambassador. The Ambassador is one of those bosses that people struggle with quite a lot, and obviously a lot of people think that you got to have really good gear to get through here, because there's a DPS check to make sure you one cycle the spinners, and then of course there's like surviving as well. Now, a lot of people come in here and they'll struggle. They won't get through the one cycle of the spinners and stuff, and it's definitely something that you struggle with. Now, you would think that with this gear that you may have to do 2 cycles. But you don't. The reason you don't is because with Animate Dead and with Ganodermic, the amount of damage you're taking really isn't that big of a deal. You're not eating food, you're not dropping your adrenaline, you can just focus on doing DPS. At least this was my experience with it. Of course, I have a lot of experience with the Ambassador, so it makes it a lot better. But like I said, taking into account the fact that you are going to want to practice quite a lot is something that is a big deal in this. This just shows that experience at bosses kind of goes a lot further than just having better gear. You can definitely do this. As you can see, I did 1 cycle the Ambassador with the spinners and stuff, and at the end I wasn't anywhere nearly out of food. I didn't resonance any of the magic hits except for maybe just 1 when the minions were out. That was like the only one that I did. I still kept my prayer on. I think it was like a 1.2k heal or something like that. But other than that, again, there's not really any issues here whatsoever. Get your sunshine down, do as much damage as you can. Killing off the spinners, the idle thingies, whatever they're called, wasn't really difficult either, especially with the Zook Cape. Just throw out an Omni Power and that's one of them done. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, you can definitely get the Zook Cape with this setup as well. Plenty of people do it. Comment down below, actually, help me out. Comment down below if you've got a Zook kill in this sort of gear, because I know a lot of people who have, so it's definitely possible to do. But Ambassador, really not that difficult. The last phase was super easy as well. It wasn't anything to worry about. You just use your normal devotion and debilitate for the things, and reflect and whatnot to deal with the special attacks. Of course, it's a slower kill than normal, but it was like a 5-minute something kill. This isn't bad. This isn't bad whatsoever. A 5-minute, just over a 5-minute kill at the Ambassador. Still 1 overload dose. It's pretty damn good. I would be happy with this in this gear. And let me tell you, Tarot Ket with this gear, absolute piece of cake. So if you are someone who is wanting to use a Death Touch Dart at the Ambassador but you can't get to the Ambassador, just bring this gear, Ganodermic, Camper Defender, and force your way through Tarot Ket, and then you can use your Death Touch Dart at the Ambassador or something like that. But honestly, like I said, guys, this gear absolutely works pretty much everywhere. And there you go. This gear setup is absolutely something you can take advantage of. And to be honest, I would say that this alone probably makes Magic the most overpowered combat style that there is. Because while it may not be the highest output of damage, I think range now slightly passes it, possibly. I'm not 100% sure, to be fair. But that's not the only thing you need to measure. For early game players as well, this is insanely good. It is incredibly good. Magic with Animate Dead is a huge I don't want to say it's like abusing the stuff, but like honestly, you can get through stuff so easy by using this, using a defender camp, all that sort of good stuff. Obviously, again, I would only suggest doing this in a solo in most instances, unless your friends are doing the same with you maybe, or they're just not bothered. I wouldn't recommend trying to join like AOD groups or anything in this gear. Obviously, that's not a good idea, and you are trading off kill times and DPS to be able to just force your way through kills pretty much. But again, there's some downsides to this, and one of them would also be learning bosses properly, because obviously normally you're going to be taking a lot more damage and you have to do things to deal with properly. So one thing I would suggest is, if you are going to opt to use this as something that you can do, still pay attention to the mechanics and deal with them properly. Even if you know you can just tank something to the face, for example, the magic hits of the ambassador, you could just tank them to the face in this gear, you can, that's not a problem. But even though if you know you can do that, you should still deal with them properly and use a resonance every now and again, or make sure you at least prayer flick to deal with it that way, as that way you are still learning mechanics and you are learning and improving at PvM too. This will make it a lot safer and make it so that you don't take anywhere near as much damage, and make it so that you're not dying 24/7, and it'll get you through the fights, and it can give you the confidence to learn the mechanics. But you still want to learn the mechanics, because if you don't, you're forever going to be locked into this gear or crippling armor, and when you want to move up and improve and like get better kill times and stuff, you're basically going to be relearning mechanics and stuff again anyway. But that's pretty much what I had for you guys today. Hopefully you found this video interesting. I thought it was worth mentioning. You don't need a ton of gear to do PvM. This gear will get you through every single boss in the game, maybe except for next. You can still pull it off, but it's just not worth it. But other than that, thank you for watching, guys. I appreciate it, and I will catch you all in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye.